Finally! A Pixar movie that both doesn't suck and doesn't disappoint. Thank goodness above for that. And I finally have an excuse to break out this shirt. Yeah, you're going to see this tomorrow too, just a heads up. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Animation Station, your number one station for anything and everything animation. And welcome to our first movie review in a pretty good long while. As you guys know, we've mainly spent this entire month talking about SpongeBob and episode reviews and reactions. We haven't really done a movie review this month, I don't think. At least not on this channel. So, what better one to start it off with, well, get it restarted, I guess, is my super late review of Pixar's latest movie, Elemental. I saw the trailer, looked pretty good. I saw technically it was a teaser, but I saw it looked pretty good. I was intrigued, though it was very vague on what the movie was actually about. Then I saw the actual trailer. It looked pretty good, but I wasn't really blown away by it. So, there was that. And then I started hearing that this was a rom-com. Okay, I'm going to make this nice and clear for everyone that doesn't know, which is pretty much all of you watching this video right now. I hate rom-coms. Like, they're usually the same thing over and over, super generic, super boring, and the characters and acting is like bottom of the barrel. Like, it's just the same story pretty much over and over, except they change settings, or they change the actual stage in the relationship, or, like little minor changes that don't actually make it interesting. I'm sorry, but like, the only other rom-coms I can think of off the top of my head that I actually like were the old school Adam Sandler ones. Like, even though those ones weren't really meant to be rom-coms, but what's one I can think of off the top of my head? Wedding Singer. That is one of the only rom-coms I will go so far as to call great. So with all that in mind, and my review being late because, unfortunately, I couldn't get to my screening in time, and then TMG was literally a week later, so yeah. Needless to say, this review is late, and I apologize for that, but I finally got to see it today. And, wow. Pixar's back. After the back-to-back disappointments of the decent but very meh Lightyear, and no, it's not because of the LGBTQ relationship. That was actually one of the best parts of that movie, in my opinion. And I'm just gonna say it, the awful Turning Red. I'm sorry, I can't watch that movie. It is too freaking cringy, and I will go on and on about it in the tier list video tomorrow. But yeah, after those movies, I pretty much lost a lot of faith in Pixar. And I didn't really know if this was going to be the one that would bounce them back, or if it was one that was just going to drag them further down the gutter. But okay, before I start talking about the actual movie, I should probably bring up the short, because I know I'm going to get asked about it. Carl's Date. It's a cute little short. It's a bit simple. It's pretty much just Carl and Doug interacting as Carl tries to, get ready for his first date ever since, his previous wife passed away. So, yeah. It's a sweet little short. And, of course, it is the final performance of Ed Asner before his passing. So, rest in peace, Ed. So, yeah. The short is cute, and I can't really say a whole lot about it because it is kind of simple. But it's cute, and if you're a fan of Up, you're going to like that little extra bit of closure that you get. So, yeah, short's cute. I'd give it probably around a 7. It's cute. And then going into the movie, my emotions kind of changed throughout my viewing. At first I'm like, this is solid. I like the world they created. I like the creativity of the actual elements and how they interact with one another. I liked that. But the story was formulaic. And then when I got to the halfway point, the story was still formulaic, but it kind of felt a bit more focused. And then by the time that the ending came around, yeah, I fell in love with this movie. It's one of those movies that definitely grows on you as you watch it, but trust me, it starts out a bit slow, but if you stick with it, it gets better the more you watch, the more you see of it. Like, I love this movie. I know a lot of people say this is probably at least a B tier Pixar movie at best, and I can understand that, but after sitting through the disappointments that I had to sit through the past, what, 2, 3 years, something like that? Let me think. Lightyear was 2019. I don't even remember, bro. I didn't like Pixar the last two movies very much. I'll just put it that way. But this one feels like classic Pixar. This one looks classic Pixar with that beautiful, beautiful animation. I'm gonna go on and on about that. Don't worry. But all in all, the movie, I ended up really loving it, like a lot. So I'm gonna do what I normally do. I'm just gonna turn my computer back on now that I'm done with my preamble. And I'm going to look up my written review, and I'll just read off of that because it pretty much sums up better than I could just on a whim what I really think of the movie. So, just wait for this thing to start up. Come on. Thank you. And yeah, I am a bit miffed that this movie's bombing as hard as it is. So, yeah. Here it is. Okay. Here's my written review. A beautiful, emotional, creative, funny, well-animated, touching, heartstring-tugging, adorable, excellently voice-acted, sharply written, fast-paced, and highly entertaining film that brings back what made Pixar so great way back when. Its only misstep is the story being predictable and by the numbers. I mean, it's a rom-com. You get what you get. Aside from that, this was a fantastic watch. Only time will tell if it'll make the best list or not since I've given out so many 9s already this year, but I can wholeheartedly recommend you go out and see this one in theaters, especially over the torturous piece of crap that was Flash. Seriously, just screw Flash, it's a piece of crap, it's going to be on the worst list. It's a heartfelt and very touching movie, undoubtedly a massive improvement over Pixar's previous disappointments, Lightyear and Turning Red. Please go out and see this one. This is a film that deserves to succeed. Welcome back, Pixar. Oh, how we've missed you. Yeah, pretty much. Now I'll go a little bit more in depth, but not too in depth because I don't want to spoil anything. I'll start with the animation. Beautiful, gorgeous, some of Pixar's best. Like, this is still Pixar. Even if their movies are under par, they always usually bring their A game when it comes to their animation. And this one's no different. I love the different art styles they use for each element. I love how they created this element world where they have like sectioned off places. I like the designs of all the characters, Ember especially, which was really cool. I loved her almost cel-shaded kind of style because since she is like a living flame, she's always having the flames going up and down on the top of her head, and it has like this black line around them. Kind of like, I know this is going to sound really nerdy, but it kind of feels like they took a little bit of inspiration from manga. Because with manga, they usually have like black outlines to try and keep the characters separate from the whole background that they draw. Like, I know it sounds stupid, but yeah. Not to mention all the characters move in a very specific way too, like Wade being the water guy, he's very fluent, he's very smooth, you know, flowing. He's very flowing with his animation, his body language. Meanwhile, Ember is a bit more stagnant, poetic, if that's even a word, and very much, you know, flame. Like, definitely resembling fire. Especially when they bring her temper into the story later on, and she starts turning different colors, which is a nice way to resemble fire people when they get angry. And it's also because that's also a nice reference to how different colors of flames also helps you determine the temperature of the actual flame itself. Like, it's really cool. It's all really, really cool. And then you have the Earth people who are a bit more stocky and, move like how you expect them to. And then you have the air people, which are literal clouds that just feel floaty and always flying around. Like, it's really unique, fluid animation, and it definitely makes each race stand out from each other. The Element City was also really well designed, having the fire people kind of like the suburbs of a city, and then you have like the water people, which are kind of like the big metropolis, and then you have the air people, and then you have the little earth area, even though we don't get to see a whole lot of it. Like, it's all really good and very well designed, and they're very faithful to their elements. I'll just put it that way. Moving on from there, I'll talk a little bit about the characters, not all of them, because again, spoilers. I'll start with Ember. I think Ember is the best part of the movie. Her voice acting was fantastic. Her character was very distinct from everyone else in Element City, and the way she was raised, and again, the character design is just so cool, especially the way they made her dress look like black charcoal. Like, that's really cool. And her, like, constant struggle of following what her father wants her to do to figuring out what she really wants to do. Like, it just goes back and forth like that. And I appreciate that, as overdone as it is. Like, this isn't a completely new character archetype or anything like that. We've seen this kind of character before. And then there's Wade, who's, at first I was a bit iffy on him because he spends his whole introduction just crying. I don't think that's much of a spoiler. I'm pretty sure it was in one of the trailers or TV spots. And, sorry, I don't know what just came out of my throat there. And he's always, like, the emotional guy, the happy guy, and he's always trying to do what's best in a situation. And he's a character that didn't start out great, and then he started to grow on me the more I watched him. And I did buy the chemistry between the two, and I did like the romance, even though it did kind of feel a bit out of place when it suddenly started developing out of nowhere in the second act. So, yeah, I like the two main characters. They're pretty cool. I like Ember's dad. He's a very relatable character, and cool design, and the whole way he acts and everything. Ember's mom's pretty cool, even though we don't get to know a whole lot about her. She's very much a background character. And then you have a bunch of other background characters, and the one Earth kid that keeps trying to give Ember a flower, despite the fact that she keeps burning it. Like, he was fine. He was definitely the token comic relief character that didn't need to be there because Wade already filled that role, but whatever, I digress. And it was just all really well executed. Like, I do like most of the characters. There's no characters I outright hate in this movie, because they all seem like they're actually well developed, even though even though some of them we don't get to know a whole lot about. Like, again, Ember's mom, very much a background character through most of the movie. Like, we could have developed the other characters more, but I think it suffices. I also appreciate that this movie is an hour and a half. Like, it's not trying to push 3 hours, which is nice for once, especially since more movies try to do that nowadays. And it does have a brisk, fast pace, and while I did feel the runtime a little bit in the beginning, by the time the second act came around, I was pretty much entirely invested, and the time just flew by. Like, even in moments that were supposed to be slow, they still came out as fast. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. The humor's a bit hit and miss, like the Marco Polo joke from the trailer. That one legit had me laughing. That's a good joke. But then there were a couple other jokes, like, again, the token comic relief kid we could have done without, or some jokes that are overused, like having Wade reform through many different things, or the fact that he spends his entire first scene crying. Like, it's weird. And yes, the story is very typical and by the numbers. If you've seen a rom-com before, then you know exactly what to expect here. But I don't think it's a big detriment to the movie. It just means it's a bit predictable. So, yeah. Not to mention, unfortunately, the trailer did spoil a decent bit of it. Like, not story wise, but just like moments wise. Like the moment with Wade eating the hot coals that the dad gives him, or the water family that we see, or again the Marco Polo joke, which I'm sure would have had people laughing if they didn't just outright spoil it in their trailers. Like, it's a bit hard to explain this movie without going straight into spoilers because it is a great film. It just takes a little bit to get going. Like after you get through that first act, it gets a lot better. Lead gets a lot better, the jokes get a lot better, and the animation and character designs are just so freaking cool. This is a movie that needs to be seen on a screen. Like, go watch it in theaters now. Like, seriously, this movie does not deserve to bomb. This movie needs to succeed because it's easily Pixar's best in years. It's about the same level of enjoyment I had with Luca, which I absolutely loved. And despite it being a rom-com, it's a really good rom-com. Like, it tries to do something new by having it be in this new animated style with these elements and the differentiation and, all that. But it's definitely a movie that needs to be seen rather than explained to do full justice. It's beautiful, it's animated, it's heart-touching, it's emotional, it's funny, even though, again, it starts out a bit light. If you don't mind a predictable story, and if you don't mind rom-coms, you're going to really enjoy this one. If you aren't into those things, then this one probably won't be for you, but if you are into those things, you'll really enjoy it. I think kids will really like this one because of the bright colors that should keep them invested. And the characters, I'm not going to say they're like the best in Pixar, like they're not Mike and Sully here, but they are really good, really well developed, and really solid. And if this movie does get a sequel, which unfortunately, since it is such a big bomb, is unlikely, I want to see more. I want to see more of this world develop. I want to see more of Wade and Ember's relationship continue to blossom as they travel the world. Like, it's a really fantastic, great film. And if you're a Pixar fan, highly recommended. If you're a rom-com fan, highly recommended. And if you're a kid, also highly recommended. Even though, again, it's a rom-com, and it's definitely going to work better for adults mostly than kids, but I think kids will still have a great time with this. So, yeah, Elemental is a great movie, and I'm glad that Pixar finally gave me a movie worth watching instead of a average to below average disappointment. Final verdict for Elemental is going to be a high 9 out of 10. It is a great film. It's a lot of fun, and while it does take a while to get going and the story is generic and not forgettable, it's generic by the books and very predictable. It's a lot of fun, and it has a lot of that heartfelt emotion that Pixar does so well. And then there's some adult jokes, there's a great romance, like, it's just such a great movie. You guys need to go and see it. Seriously, just go see it. And I'm not going to make a spoiler review unless you guys absolutely want me to, so if you want me to, let me know in the comments. If you've seen this movie already, let me know what you think about it in the comments, and thank you for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already to Animation Station, your number one stop destination for anything and everything animation. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Pixar movie tier list, which may or may not have me in super nostalgia goggles. Just a heads up, since I grew up with a bunch of the old school ones. So, yep, see you for the Pixar tier list tomorrow. Until then, have a great day, and take care.